SharePoint 2016 is a foundational release that extends innovation in Office 365 to your data center. Forged in the cloud, it's a whole new way to think about SharePoint, and it comes with major enhancements that accelerate time to value for businesses. Making fast decisions, keeping in touch, and getting information on the go are workplace necessities. SharePoint 2016 is built on a cloud-inspired infrastructure to enable these capabilities. It provides a modern user experience with better mobile access to content, people, and apps, along with touch-based experiences across devices. It simplifies file storage and collaboration, all while giving you the security and control you require. Data loss is non-negotiable and has legal and compliance implications. SharePoint revolutionizes data security and makes compliance people-centric. Your sensitive information stays safe, and your employees have access to the right information at the right time. It's a new world out there. Fast-paced, mobile, social. Change is constant, and SharePoint is designed to grow with you. With continuous updates, you'll stay ahead with the most comprehensive, secure version ever. SharePoint 2016, a new way to think about SharePoint, and a new way to experience innovation. Follow the link to download a trial today.
If you've worked in a company, you'll probably recognize how it feels to be Monique. She starts a new project, looks for team members, holds meetings, and the emails start flying. Pretty soon, a few important documents emerge, and those documents get passed around and around. Within a couple of weeks, a few hundred emails, and a couple of dozen phone calls, a few things become clear. First, people feel overwhelmed. Everyone's inbox is filled with slightly different versions of the same document. Monique is never sure if she has the latest version. Second, it's impossible for her to see a complete snapshot of the project. Everything is spread across multiple computers, and everyone on the team has different information depending on who they talk to. Third, even though the project will impact other projects, there's no way to connect them. They're like islands. She spends valuable time trying to coordinate with other project leads and stakeholders. It's better than sending snail mail, but it's not the only way. Tools like SharePoint can take away some of the pain of collaborating and easily do things that were difficult before. Imagine this scenario. Monique starts a new project and needs to form a team. This time, she creates an online home for the project by starting a new SharePoint site. To help fill out the team, Monique identifies potential team members with special skills using search. Within minutes, she finds 2 graphic designers in the company and contacts them about the project. Once the team is formed, Andrea and Dimitri learn that they have more in common thanks to SharePoint blogs. Common interests in things like mountain biking help build relationships that create a solid team foundation. For this project, there's little worry about attachments and version control. SharePoint becomes the source for everything related to the project. All documents live in SharePoint, where there is only one version. The same is true for calendars. The team's shared calendar means no one has to guess about meeting times or due dates. Monique soon realizes she also needs budget spreadsheets and presentations. Instead of having to reinvent the wheel, she can search SharePoint for documents from other projects that help her get started quickly. The same is true for existing databases and networks within her company. SharePoint plugs into these systems, so Monique and her team can access sales data, inventory numbers, and contact information right from SharePoint. Now she can see that instead of people, documents, and company data being islands in a huge ocean, SharePoint creates a home that not only connects these islands, but allows her company to see the big picture.
Hello, today we're going to speak about SharePoint. SharePoint is part of the Office 365 package that Water Mission is using, and it's going to replace the Z drive. The Z drive will still be there, but it will be made read-only after a certain period of time and will only be used as a historical drive. And that information will still be accessible, but you won't be able to add documents into that area. So what that means for us is that SharePoint is going to be the one-stop shop for all of our documentation that we use at Water Missions. And the great thing about this is VPN is no longer going to be an issue, and you'll be able to access SharePoint 24 hours a day, 7 days a week from just about virtually any type of computer or tablet or smartphone. Navigation within SharePoint is relatively easy. You'll notice on the far left that there's corporate services, projects, programs, and VIP, and likewise that there's corporate services, programs, projects, and VIP at the top. Now, the big difference is you'll see that there are drop downs. I can go in here and you'll see several drop downs. But just because you see the drop down, if you don't have access, you won't actually be able to get anywhere within SharePoint if you don't have access. If you do have access, then obviously you'll be able to see it. Now let's go over this. If I click on actual corporate services, I will go to corporate services. Just give it a second. You see the page up here. It has a little circle, blue circle spinning. That tells you that SharePoint is working to get there. And we can go to corporate services. You can either hit the back button, or I can just simply click on programs itself, and I can go to programs. Likewise, I can go to projects. Wait for it, and you see it's spinning up here again. It tells you that it's working, so you don't have to repeatedly click on it. And then, of course, I can go to VIP. These are the four main areas of SharePoint. Now, you can also get back to the home page by simply clicking on the Water Mission logo. So, see, now we're in VIP. All right, so I'm going to click on the Water Mission logo, and then you'll see that it comes up back to the home page. Now, there is a tile here that gives you other options to get into Office 365, or you can click on Office 365 and it'll give you similar tiles. And I'm just going to click the back button. Now, this here is SharePoint default site, which is a Microsoft tool. This is something that Microsoft has installed, and you may be a little confused about where you're at. And again, if you just simply click on the Water Mission logo, you can go back to the actual Water Mission SharePoint site. Now, I may have a few options here, but let's go into and let's look at the gear. I have a few options here under the gear. The best thing I can tell you is if you don't have access, you won't really see much. But the site administrator, which is the Office 365 admin, is the one that actually makes all changes to SharePoint. So just be aware of that. You'll have your name, and you can click on some information. You can sign yourself out, and you have About Me, view your account, and that sort of thing. And let's talk about the search page. The search site, or search this site option, will search everything within SharePoint if you're at the topmost level of SharePoint. We're on this home page. If you go to, say, programs, say engineering and innovation, and I click on search, it's going to search everything from engineering and innovation and down. Within SharePoint, you'll notice that there's a similar structure: notebook, a calendar, a contacts, a documents, and a links. Now, the notebook is OneNote, and this is for note-taking tools that can be shared with everyone within your department at Water Mission. SharePoint subsites. There's a lot of information that I need to pass on to you about SharePoint. SharePoint is built in a hierarchy. Now, what do I mean by that? It's top down, kind of like a pyramid. At the very top level, you have what you see on the screen is intranet, and you see S1. Now, likewise, you see corporate services, programs, project, and VIP. This would be the S2 level. This means that they're subsites. And the S3 and S4 are subsites and subsites. Microsoft makes this very confusing, but I want to make it very easy for you. The S1 layer, or the S1 site, is the intranet. That's the home page of SharePoint. S2 is the subsite for corporate services, programs, project, and VIP. Corporate services underneath that would say have HR. That would be the S3 site. S4 for HR would be necessarily HR protected content. Now, just because these sites exist doesn't mean you necessarily have access to these sites. There's 253 sites and subsites within SharePoint. It took over 8 weeks to build, and it's actually quite large. Now, in order to make sure that people who don't need access in other areas, for example, HR has a protected content area, there have been permission groups created. So far, there are 360 different permission groups to lock everything down. Now, this is just a quick overlay to see the SharePoint division and subsites and subsites, which would be the S1, the S2, S3, S4 levels. And I tell you that because this is quite a large undertaking that Water Mission has completed. Now, you're not meant to read this necessarily, but just to get an idea of how massive everything is. Now, let's talk about the projects section of SharePoint. Now, there's the corporate services, programs, projects, and VIP, but projects is really a unique tool in and of itself. The pump, which creates projects, sends a one-way communication into SharePoint Online, and then under projects in SharePoint, files are created and folders are created by the pump, and these files and folders are supposed to be read-only, and they're really just information for you to view. You, as a user, won't be actually placing information within SharePoint projects, but the information is there. And like I said, it's a one-way communication that you go into projects, you go into pump rather, and you create the projects, and then SharePoint receives the actual files, and you can go into projects under SharePoint and view them at any time. Now let's give you a better example of what I'm speaking about. In this picture, you show the driver as the pump, and you show the sidecar, the motorcycle, as SharePoint projects. The pump creates the projects and sends the information in one-way communication, meaning that you can't go to projects and upload information into the pump. Only the pump can create the information and send it to projects. It just, all the information after the pump creates it sits within SharePoint as a read-only type information to use. Now you can still get to the pump and view the projects, but in SharePoint you'll have PDF or Acrobat files that are viewable. Now this project area in SharePoint is not to be used for individual storage of projects and information that you wish to put there. This is simply what is created in the pump and is meant to be a read-only area. Logging into SharePoint is easy. There's a long way and there's a short way. The long way is to type in https://watermission.sharepoint.com/sites/intranet, or you could just simply go to the portal and click on SharePoint. Now after clicking on SharePoint, if you haven't actually logged in to SharePoint for the day, you may see a web page that looks like this. That's okay. If you don't see it, it just means that you've already validated who you are with Microsoft. But if you haven't, then you'll have to enter your Water Missions email address and the password you use to log into your computer. If you don't have a Water Mission address, then that means that you don't have a need to log into SharePoint at Water Missions. You need to contact your local administrator and your supervisor if you do need permission and an actual Water Missions email address. All right, so once we click on SharePoint on the portal page, we've already logged in. I've already logged in today. So you'll see the familiar home page with the drop downs and that sort of thing. And you'll see the different links and everywhere that you can get to. And I want to go ahead and I want to cover something that if you ever are trying to figure out where you are within SharePoint, this navigational marker is on every single subsite. Remember I talked about how every site has a subsite and a sub-subsite, and I called the top level here Remember, I called it a site, and then I called all these corporate service programs, projects, and VIP a subsite. And anything under here would be a S3 site, and anything under that would be an S4 site. So these are all just many different subsites. And every single subsite, again, as a refresher, has a notebook, a home, calendar, contacts, documents, and links. And then you'll see here where we're currently at, engineering and innovation. There are actually some subsites, accounting, which will also have a notebook, a calendar, a contacts, a document library, and links. And forecasting, in this example, would also have a notebook, a calendar, contacts, a document library, and links. And marketing would have exactly the same thing, and on and on. Now, this navigational marker tells us that we're at the top level intranet, and then with a colon, that tells you that we went down to programs, so we went to the S2 level of a subsite. A subsite is not a folder. It's its own entity which we can lock down with permissions. And then, after going to programs, we went to engineering and innovation. So that would look like this. And then simply, I clicked on engineering and innovation, which took me to this page. And by using this navigational marker, you can tell on all the 253 subsites exactly where you're at. You'll know at all times. Let's talk about SharePoint permissions. You remember how I was speaking about the S1, S2, S3, S4 level, how the very top level, the home page of the intranet and SharePoint is the S1 level, and it has its permissions. And remember how I was talking about corporate services, programs, projects, and VIP having its own permissions as well. And this would be the S2 level, and anything below that would be S3 and S4 and so on. Well, they're permission groups, 357 permission groups to be exact. Now, if you look in the column under name, it has owners, members, and visitors, and no access. But the three you want to be concerned about are owners, members, and visitors. Owners have full control over their subsite. This is important to know. So, for example, if you're in charge of, say, HR or country programs or advocacy or engineering innovation and VIP or marketing communication, these are all your sites. These are the sites that you would be in charge of. Now I'm talking about individuals, supervisors, and division and department supervisors. Now, if you have full control, you can basically do whatever you need to do on SharePoint within your site, your subsite. That doesn't mean you have access to other subsites in full control. It just means in your area that you specifically work, you have those permissions. Members, on the other hand, will have contribute rights. And those contribute rights are view, add, update, and delete documents. So you can do several things, not quite as full control, but still very powerful permissions. And visitors have read-only access, which means you can only view the pages and document libraries, and you always have the option to open these documents, and as you read them, you can always download them, but you won't be able to make any changes. Now, if you don't have access or permission to an area, say if you go to HR and you go to HR Protected Content, it's going to pop up with a no access page, and it's going to say you don't have permission, and it looks just like this. It says, sorry, you do not have access to this page. You can use the canned message if you want to request access, or you can type your own message, and you click Request Access. What happens at this point is, behind the scenes, the owner of that site, in this example was HR, the HR director would get that email and give you access or deny you access based on what the needs in your position are. And those rights are customizable, and he can change those rights. All right, so let's talk about the permission level. If you have no access, how does that correspond to this area on the right under description? So if you have no access, it means you do not have permission to access this site. If you have full access, it means it contains all available SharePoint permissions. And if you have over here contribute rights, it means that you can view, add, update, and delete documents. And if you have read access, it means you can view the pages, read them, and also download the documents. Now, reading left to right, under Owner, which corresponding level of access would you have? If you chose Full, then you're correct. The Member has what permission level? It's Contribute. And Visitor has read-only access. And if you have no access, it means you literally have no access. Now, in document libraries, there are several things you'll need to know. You can see here, I went to Intranet, Programs, and then Engineering Innovation. That's Programs, Engineering Innovation. But now we need to get to the document library. Remember how I said the document libraries are here? And this is a preview area. You'll have a few more options within the document library. So you either can click here, or you can go into this link, which takes you into here. You can still do work here, but sometimes the screen starts going up and down as you try to work within it, and sometimes it's just easier just to click and go straight into the document library. Now, if I were to open, let's say, I'm going to go into responsibilities, and I were to take these documents, I can move my mouse over like this to highlight it. I can do Control A on your keyboard. I can simply drag and drop. I can also go moving the files over a folder and then drag and dropping within that folder as well. Now, and interestingly enough, there are Word documents in Excel and PowerPoints that are templates. You simply hover and then click over New, and then you can click a new document. SharePoint will first create this document. You see up here it says that it's saved. This is in the browser version of Word. So I can even go up here and say I don't like the name. I can just delete the name and do test 11A, and then hit enter or click anywhere on the screen, and now it's saved. And you don't see any of the template like Water Mission logo or anything until you actually go back into it. Instead of hitting the back button, which sometimes causes an error, it's just simply easier to do engineering and go back to this area here, engineering innovation, and this example. All right, so now we see test 11A, and you see the asterisk says it's new. You'll also note that there's a green box with a white arrow, and that means it's checked out, and even if you hover over it, tells you it's checked out to me. But you can also check who modified the document and then who has a document checked out. Now, what do I mean by checked out? Checked out specifically means that one person at one time within Water Missions can edit a document. This is considered best practices by Microsoft, and this is how Water Missions document libraries are set up. So you can click these three dots, which specifically are called the ellipsis, and you'll notice that you have some options here: open, share, follow, and then some more options. You can open in Word, which is the application. That's the same thing as going down here and clicking all the way to the bottom and finding Word 2016 and clicking that. Let's go back to the second set of ellipsis, where I can open in Word Online. Now, if you don't have Word Online, if you don't have the Word 2016 application on your computer, say you want to go home and work, and you don't have Office on your computer at home, that's okay. It's perfectly fine, because this SharePoint feature allows you to edit online in Word Online application. You can share, you can get a link, you can go to Advanced and click Check-in. If you didn't make any changes to this document after you checked it out, you can always discard your checkout. So let's go to Share for a moment. I can just type in a name Oh, there I am. I didn't have to type it all the way. And I can require sign in or uncheck it. Sometimes you get an error if you don't have a required check in. Just be aware of that. And when you edit, you can edit or view permissions for the individual that you want to share the document with. And then you simply click share, and then both you and that person that you send an email to will have an email with that information. Let's see what that looks like. So I click share, and it gives me an error. It's probably because I'm sharing with myself, but I'll do require sign in. And you can see it's working, it's thinking, and it says shared with Kevin Rabb. And if I go to my email, should pop up here in a moment. There it is. And you'll see that it has the test 11A. You click on that, and it opens it up in Word Online. And you'll see the Water Mission logo. There's nothing in that document, and as I click in it, I can't actually edit the document until I go here and either choose to edit in Word or edit in the browser. If I choose to edit in browser, it'll say Open Word 2016. This is a default message for, do you want to open this file? You click yes. It opens the Word document, and now you can edit it. And it has a standard features. This is a test, and unbold it, hit period, space, test again. And you notice that in Word Online, it's saved automatically. But in the application, which is down here and going into Word 2016, you actually have to click on Save. If you want to use a keyboard shortcut, you click Control and then S, and it saves the document. When you're done, now the document is still on SharePoint. And here's an interesting feature. In order for other people to be able to edit the document, you have to click Check In. You have minor version drafts which go up in 0.1, 0.2, and so on, and major revisions which are 1.0 and so on. So we're checking in. We'll just close that, and we'll go back to Engineering Innovation right here. Notice I didn't hit the back button. I actually hit that, and now I'm back in the document library. And as you can see, the little green box with the white arrow is gone from here, and it's no longer checked out to me. Now, if you want to get a link and you want to send a link to somebody, you can right click and copy. And if you go to email, you do new email. You can give it a name and subject all you want. And if I paste that in there, you'll notice that the text is black, right? It's just a black font. And it's not actually, it is a link, it's just not a hypertext link which you can click on. Now, if you send this to a novice computer user, they're not going to realize that this is a link they can just copy and paste into a browser. So to make it simple for yourself, either hit the Enter or the space bar on the keyboard. I'm going to hit the space bar. And now it turns it into a clickable link when you send it. That's just a little bit of advice to help people. All right. So now I can also check to see who this is shared with, and I can also stop sharing if I want. I'm just going to close the document at this point. Now we've covered a few different features. We talked about drag and dropping. You can upload documents, which is basically a longer version of uploading. And sync is an interesting feature. And if I click sync now, it's going to create an offline version. And you'll see that in a video demonstration. I just want to show you this. You see how this is a OneDrive water mission, which is another lesson altogether. Well, there'll be a water mission for SharePoint, and it may even say SharePoint on there. And you'll have other folders that you can go into, right? And that's basically it.
I'm Peter Kalmström of Kalmström.com Business Solutions. In this demonstration, I'll show you how to upload multiple files to SharePoint Online. First of all, you have the regular upload button, of course. You can select multiple files there by holding down the Control key and clicking multiple files, like that, or by selecting the first one, holding down the Shift key and selecting the last one. And that allows you to upload a bunch of documents. So now it's uploading 11 documents. You can also go into your Windows Explorer, select the files that you want to upload, like that, again with the Control key, or even with Control A to select everything. Notice though that that does not work on folders, so you can't upload folders in this way. But now if I select all these files and just drag them over, notice that you need to drag them into the area with the gray box there. So then you just upload them like that. If you have this window maximized, then you need to drag them down to the Windows Explorer, wait for the Windows Explorer window to pop up, and then drag it in there. Then you can import all the 49 files. I think the best way is to do these side by side. I'm holding down the Windows key, pressing right, and then selecting that one to be my left, like that. And then I have them side by side. This is in Windows 10 that got that selection there, what I need to be on the left. But you can do the same thing in previous versions too. So now I can just drag and drop between these two. So now it's uploading my 49 files, or 41 of them. There were some doubles there. I'll replace all of them. Replace that one too. All right, there we go. So all the files are now uploaded. So let's see what happened here. A few things that you need to be aware of. When you upload files like this, you lose all the metadata. What do I mean by metadata? I mean the information of when was this file last changed. You'll notice that these files are not brand new. They were created previously. But when I go into SharePoint and take a look here, you'll notice that it seems that they were modified a few seconds ago. It also seems that these were all modified by me, which is not the case. Finally, and maybe most importantly, the permissions information. So if you're uploading from a file share with custom permissions on different information, that information is not copied across, but you'll get all the permissions that's on the SharePoint site you're uploading to. So that's something you need to be aware of if you're uploading many files, that all those metadata, all those information about the files that you're uploading will get lost. But as you see, it's rather simple to upload multiple files to SharePoint in 3 different ways like that. Thank you for watching this demo.
Hi, I'm Peter Kalmström of Kalmström.com Business Solutions. I'm going to go into my sites list here and find the 2016 kickoff, where I have some interesting documents in the Documents document library. And there I can go ahead and click on the Sync button, either there or there in the ribbon. What that does is sets up this library to sync to my device, in this case, of course, my Windows computer. And that syncs the information from the SharePoint site into my library or my computer, which is under C Users Admin. So I'm going to sync that now, and that's going to take a few seconds, and then I'm going to have the option to open that library or show my files. And here they are, the kickoff documents. In a few seconds, all of them should show, and they should also have the little green icons indicating that they are indeed synced with my SharePoint site. There we are. All the documents are there, synced to my computer, and with a little green icon to indicate that they're synced. So let me show you here. If I click back here to my admin folder, you'll notice that I now have 3 new folders here that you might not have noticed before. First, there's the OneDrive one that's included in Windows 10, and that's the option to connect to my Microsoft account, not my Office 365 account. Then there's this OneDrive that's connected to my personal My Site, and then there's this one. This was just added a few seconds ago when I did my first sync of a SharePoint document library. So if I go into that, you'll notice that there's a subfolder there which has the name standard of the name of the site and the name of the library, and there of course are my files. If you save a lot into this document library on SharePoint, I would recommend adding this library to the quick access. And you do that in Windows 10 simply by dragging and dropping this to the quick access. That means, of course, that when you start working in another app like Excel, for example, and you want to save your beautiful work here, you can go into your computer and browse. And there's, of course, your link under the quick access, which I just showed you. So, and then you can just name that file and it will be saved to your computer and then uploaded into the SharePoint document library. Save that, and now it's gets saved to my computer and eventually uploaded into my SharePoint site. Thank you for watching this demo.
Hi, in this short video I would like to show you the check-in and check-out feature in SharePoint Online. You can check out the document you would like to work on so that other colleagues cannot make any changes to it. Here's how it works. In SharePoint Online, you just browse to your document library. Now, next to the document you would like to work on, click on the ellipsis. This will open up a preview of the document and it will give you some options. Now, if you click on the second set of ellipses, it will open up the options menu. Now, in the advanced options, there you will find the option to check out your document. When you click on this, in the background your document will be checked out and you will be the only one that will be able to work on this. You can tell that the document is checked out by the icon next to it. You can see there's a little white arrow and a green square next to it. Now, just to show you, you can just click on your document here, open it up in Word, and start working in it, just like you would normally do. Just give it a second. There you are. You can start typing anything you need in this document. Now, to show you that other users are not able to work on this document right now, I've opened up a second browser with a different user. As you can tell, I'm logged in as another user, so I go to the same document library. And again, I can tell that this document has been checked out. But anyway, I would still like to work on this because I'm a bit stubborn. Now, if I open it up, I can read the document in its current phase. But if I would like to edit this document, just quickly let it load, you will get an error message. There it is. It basically tells you that somebody else is working on this document and has checked it out. So the only option for you is to read it. There's no way for you to actually work on this document while it's being checked out. Now, once you're done with working on your document, you just go back to your document library here, go back to the ellipsis next to the document, click on the second set of ellipses, back into the advanced options, and click check in. Here you can choose if you would like this document to stay checked out or if you just want to check it back in again. You can add some comments for this version. And click OK. That's it. You can see who modified the document last. You can see that the version has been updated because it has been checked out and checked in again, and everybody can start working with this document again.